I started doing anything and everything possible to be sick. I would take different kinds of medication.
Andrea wanted to share her experience with InsideEdition.com, but asked that her identity be concealed.
I was injecting bacteria into my veins. I even caused 2 surgeries based on faking symptoms and taking massive amounts of laxatives. My name is Andrea, and I'm a recovering Munchausen syndrome patient.
In Munchausen syndrome, a person either feigns, exaggerates, or actually induces illness in themselves and then lies about it because they're looking for attention, sympathy, care, concern that they feel unable to get in any other way.
Andrea says it all started when she was just a little girl.
My parents, they're very hostile towards each other, a lot of arguing and fighting. I think I was approximately 8 or 9, where I had a tonsillectomy. And during that time, I was treated very, very well. My parents were very nurturing, and the fighting stopped. And it taught me a valuable lesson. If you're sick, you get treated well.
Andrea began making herself sick. She would cut her fingers and fake asthma attacks. Anything that would land her in the emergency room.
I would sometimes try to break a bone by using a hammer to bang it on my wrist or my arm.
Things only got better in her early 20s when Andrea met her husband.
Everything stopped for many years, and I no longer lived that life. I guess I didn't need that coping mechanism because I felt that I had a purpose in life. And I had become a nurse, so I was working whenever possible. I felt protected and cared for by my husband, which is what I had been searching for in my childhood. And then I also started to go to therapy, and things started to improve in my life.
In the mild cases of Munchausen syndrome, people often have steady jobs and have family and friends, and they engage in the behavior only occasionally. They may not be doctors, but they may be nurses or respiratory therapists or physical therapists, or they may have studied nursing but never really completed their degree. That is, they have a fascination with medical problems from early on in life.
Andrea's Munchausen symptoms came back as an adult when her oldest son died of a brain tumor at 13 years old.
I felt very guilt-ridden when my son passed away. I felt like somehow I was responsible. So I fell back into what was familiar and the only thing I knew to cope with severe pain. And then the Munchausen reemerged with a vengeance. I would take different kinds of medications that I knew would cause me to be sick, and it would be difficult for the doctors to figure out why I was so sick. One time I injected bacteria into my foot, and my foot became very infected, and I was hospitalized for several weeks, and they couldn't quite figure out what was going on. They were talking about amputating my foot during that time. It was that severe.
There's actually a mortality rate associated with Munchausen syndrome. They may actually die as a result of what they've done. It's hard to know for sure just how common Munchausen syndrome is because it's bathed in deceit. That said, the American Psychiatric Association says that about 1% of all people admitted to general hospitals are feigning or exaggerating or in other ways lying about the illness that brought them there.
When Andrea ended up in the ICU, her therapist encouraged her to tell her doctors and her loved ones about her Munchausen syndrome.
My husband didn't know for all those years, and telling him was really a shock.
Andrea says she hasn't tried to make herself sick since 2005.
I think it's completely over. I don't have to resist any urges. There are no urges.
They're almost dying. It can sometimes lead to a revolutionary change in their behavior. So it makes me feel very hopeful that even in the severe cases, people can recover.
Andrea says she now only goes to the doctor when she is really feeling ill. This is InsideEdition.com.